Your platter is served.
I got a platter of leather here.
Yes.
This is the best because everywhere we go, we want to touch everything, and we're not allowed to, but now we can. This is great.
He didn't say we could.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Get your kicks. That's what it's for.
So welcome back to another episode of In the Driver's Seat with ABS. We're not on the East Coast. We are on the West Coast. We are at Singer's U.S. headquarters here with Tim Kortebein, who is the head of the interior department of Singer. And I think Ben, Sean, and I can all agree that whenever we drive the Singer that we have in the Audrain collections, the best part of the car is when you get in and you are surrounded by an incredible amount of detail, whether it's the leather, the carbon fiber, the use of materials, titanium, how tactile everything is. And we are so excited to be here with you, Tim. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this.
Hey, thanks for coming down to see the shop. I'm more than happy to show off what my team can do.
So a little bit about you. You went to McPherson, and you're also very young to be in a position like the one that you have.
I did go to McPherson, and I think I owe a lot of the opportunities that I've had to that experience at McPherson. Not to say that I couldn't learn the skill or craft any other way, but being in that sort of environment definitely gave me a leg up, and helped me to achieve some of the things that I have so far.
Tell us about the start of your career here. How did it start, and how did you get to the point that where you are today?
Yeah, so when I joined Singer, I saw a job posting for a supervisor for the interiors department, and being a craftsperson, I wasn't really sure if it was for me because I really like working with my hands, and did the interview anyway. And when I showed up, I interviewed with my current boss, Andy Harrison, and he just really, turned the lights on to what I would get to experience at Singer. I mean, the background that he had to offer and everything that I stood to learn from him really is what drew me to Singer, and that's what kept me here.
That's really neat that to see you in this type of position, someone who's close in our age, maybe not Sean's age because he's the father of the group, but that's a story for another day. But it's just really neat to see you in this position. And I've said this multiple times this week. Older folks say, "Oh, kids don't like cars anymore." But do you see the next generation of car enthusiasts being involved in cars in a different way, or working in jobs like this, or how do you see that evolving over time?
To anybody who doesn't think that kids are still into cars, I'd say come and spend a couple of days in LA and see how much passion there is around here. I mean, no matter what you're into, what kind of cars, I mean, I like Volkswagens and German stuff, and there's myriad of clubs to choose from for that kind of stuff. Or if you're into Japanese cars, classic American cars, low riders, I mean, you can find a show every weekend of the year for what you're into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned Volkswagens just now, and we were chatting a bit earlier, and you mentioned you had a bus. Was it, when you were looking for that job, were you looking for something like a Singer environment with 911s, or did this just was it happenstance?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I mean, if it had been a different make or a different sort of design language, I might not have been so interested. But I'm a car guy at heart. I'm not a Porsche fanatic. I like cars, and I can appreciate good design when I see it.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Going back to our car, and when we do tours in our facility, our car storage facility where we keep all of our cars, we have in that facility in Rhode Island, we tend to have around 100 cars. But one of the cars that people gravitate towards is our Singer, our Mountain View car. And one of the favorite things for us to do, myself, Donald, our CEO, the owner of the car, first thing we do is, you think that the outside looks good? Wait till you see the interior.
Yeah.
And obviously we can spend all day talking about every little detail on a Singer. But for you specifically working on the interior, it's my favorite place to be. You know, every time I sit in the car and I hold the steering wheel, you just know you're in a special place. And I think that's what differentiates the Singer versus, you know, any other restored car, is that every material, every stitch, you can feel the passion and love that's gone into it. And I know you brought some samples here, so I was hoping you can kind of give us an idea of that process of, because there's such a myriad of options that you can do. And what does that look like, and how does it come to be?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of cars that are nice to look at. A Singer is a nice place to be inside of, you know. Like you said, with the options, there's literally unlimited options that our clients can choose. Let's see.
Your platter is served.
I got a platter of leather here.
Well, this is the best, because everywhere we go, we want to touch everything, and we're not allowed to, but now we can. This is great.
You didn't say we could.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Get your kicks. That's what it's for. Yeah. So, I mean, there's, you know, literally hundreds of different leather colors, types of leather that the clients can choose. There are protected leathers like you would get, you know, in a high use area that you want to last really long. There's unprotected aniline leathers that you can spec for your car that are soft to the touch, and they're going to wear really nicely. You know, over time they're going to develop some patina. They're going to absorb the oils from your skin and stuff like that. And it all depends on what use the client is looking to get out of their car. Out of those color options, you know, one of the Singer staples is the leather weave that we use on the door panels, seat inserts and stuff like that. And I think it's like 9 colors that you can put into a weave.
That's insane.
That the machine that makes it can handle. In any sort of, you know, color palette. You can have a plaid. If you want to do a houndstooth looking weave, you can replicate that. It's really cool.
I mentioned to Tim briefly earlier while we were walking around that I would be just overwhelmed by the realm of choices.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at like a piece like this, and you can, I'm sure, customize any of these different colors in any sort of different shape that you wanted. But as part of the process, maybe you or another of your team members maybe making suggestions, or kind of suggesting the customer in a way, or giving them ideas or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I say the options are limitless, but Singer, you know, it's built on a design philosophy, right? That Rob set out to, you know, put his ideas out, and basically all of our cars, you know, they have to pass that test, which is not an easy test to pass.
Sure. Yep.
While the clients can choose any sort of direction they want to go, all of those choices are reviewed by our design team and our client relations team to make sure that, you know, it upholds what Singer stands for.
I like how here you have the, you know, leather on one side and then kind of the suede interspersed, and that kind of adds into the, at least for me, the tactile nature of the cars and just the way everything feels when you touch it, and it adds more to the senses and the experience of driving and everything. I mean, the level of craftsmanship is insane.
Well, and the level of craftsmanship, and obviously the motto here is everything is important, but this steering wheel behind us, maybe Antonio, you could grab it as Tim holds the lunch
I gotta
platter.
touch it.
But during our little walkthrough earlier, it was mentioned that this stitch on the interior of the wheel, so to speak, is a single stitch. And I think to the untrained eye, if you had multiple stitches in there, it may not look that different, but why one stitch, I guess?
That's just the type of craftsmanship that we do here. I mean, there are a lot of steering wheels that look kind of like this that you can buy off the shelf, but it's all in the details. We start with a Momo steering wheel that's already, you know, one of the nicest steering wheels you can buy off the shelf.
Tipo, yeah.
And we scrap the leather from it, and we rewrap it in our own leather. We, you know, make sure that it matches the leather that's chosen for the inside of the car. The clients can choose every detail that they want, including the color of the stitching, and the style and all that kind of stuff.
And I think that this piece right here, for what we're talking about today and just how this is put together, you can just tell it's very soft.
Yeah.
But I think that really epitomizes what this company does. It's not just looking good. It's not just performing good. The way these cars are built and put together are so much more advanced than any other, call them resto mods or anything else. And you can't. We already have one, Sean, and it won't match, so you can't do anything with that. But they're just put together so well, these cars, in and out. I mean, we talked about the engine latch hitches.
Yeah.
Hinges, and it's just, it's phenomenal.
Well, one thing that struck a chord with me is you said to put together a wheel, it takes like a full working day.
Sure.
Just to do that.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
That's a full day for a very skilled and experienced technician to do a job like that.
And you also mentioned earlier, we were looking at the roll bar, and you said if you're making your way around and you make one mistake, you got to go all the way to the beginning again.
Sure.
I don't know if I would have the patience to do that.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's obvious, but this is stitched by hand, right? This isn't something that you can feed through a machine like a sewing machine to do. This is stitched by hand. And yeah, you mentioned the quality and the attention to detail that we focus on here. I mean, there are a lot of different places you could buy a restored Porsche. The reason we call this Reimagined is because it's not just restored. I mean, it's re-engineered. A lot of this stuff that not just goes inside of the car, but the mechanical components, like you said, the trunk hinge, the hood hinges and trunk hinges are re-engineered to be optimized, for their weight and their strength and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what's cool is, when you own one of these, and let's say you got one earlier on or whenever, and you send it back to get serviced, we found that, we actually updated this, and this. Why don't we put it in the car? It makes it that much better. So as you own the car,
it's an evolution.
It continues to evolve, continues to get better. Which is incredible, and we got different seats put in after we purchased the car, and immediately we were able to get the car here and sorted perfectly. So it was just dealing with Singer as well from a customer experience point has been phenomenal. So I think that's something when you're buying a car of this caliber, you not only get the touch from obviously the craftsmanship of the car, but you really feel that experience of, owning it and feeling part of the Singer family, if that makes sense.
So with such a unique work environment, and maybe being a McPherson student, maybe this isn't the case, but did you have to, adjust your mindset coming in here to this type of work, or was this something that you were kind of up to speed for?
Going to McPherson really did lay the groundwork and prepare me to fill a role like this. I mean, there's lots of different things you can focus on at McPherson, whether you want to learn as many hands-on skills as possible. That's an option. You can also learn you can take business courses. That's what makes it so great. It's not just a technical college. You end up being very well-rounded, and I would say that I owe a lot of what I do today to my experience at McPherson and other places that I've been along the way.
What drew you to working in interiors? Why wasn't it body restoration or engine work or something like that?
It's tough to say because it happened pretty organically. I think a lot of it is just those were the classes I really enjoyed taking. I had a fantastic professor at McPherson College that was really interested in helping people learn and was very patient with us, which was a big part of it. Another part is the craft aspect of it. It's not something you can read a book and learn how to do. It's something that you have to develop, and you have to understand how to work with different materials, and that really draws me in.
Well, I think what's so unique about you is you're 27 years old and you're the head of this department. I feel like there's not a lot of places where such a young person with your experience could be doing something like that, and I think that that's incredible on your part.
Singer is great at providing opportunities to the people who want to take it. It's a sort of environment where it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, how old you are. If you prove that you want to take on a challenge, there's not many people who are going to tell you, no, that's not your job, stay out of it.
That's incredible. So what do we have back here? This is the back of a seat, correct?
Right.
And that's a crazy color combination. So what did the exterior of this car look like?
So the exterior of this car, the car isn't actually quite finished yet, but if I recall correctly, it's white paint with a sort of magenta or pink stripe on the side. You see a lot of our cars have that vinyl stripe on the side. And it's a Targa, actually, and I believe the Targa top is going to be a pretty wild color to match the interior.
So how many cars interiors are you working on at a single time?
At the moment, between our first steps of cutting leather for a car and totally finished out the door, I think there's about 35 cars that are in progress at the moment.
So what is the organization aspect like in that? Because there's so many options
and the swatches and the stitching. Oh my God!
How do you keep everything so organized and make sure it's going in the right car?
There's a oops.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like oops.
There's no room for oops.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So we have a very carefully planned process of material flow that goes through the department. From inspecting and categorizing leather as it comes in the door. We don't keep standard leather in stock. Every leather is ordered specifically for a car. Every part that we make for that car gets labeled with a number, so we know which car it goes to. And there's a lot of logistics in having that many projects juggled in any given department.
So one thing that I thought was interesting and also funny that you brought up before was the choice of leather, and then it comes from Italy. Being an Italian, I was very proud to hear that.
Have a part in it?
Hey, mamma mia.
Yeah. Something that is, like you said, it's funny. Buying a new car from a dealership, you would never consider, where the leather came from. But all of our leather comes from Italy, and it's really because the leather is better when it comes from Italy. The cows live better lives in Italy. Got nicer
skin.
Too
bad their cars aren't as reliable as other countries, but we won't talk about that right now.
Do you have a favorite that you've done so far?
Oh,
I know that's another tough question, but
about once a month I have the thought, now that one's my favorite.
Yeah,
right. We've done so many cars that stand out. One of my favorite ones was actually the 100th car that we did in our interior shop. It just happened to work out that way. It's a really cool car with brown exterior paint, which is not so common these days. I'm a brown car appreciator.
Yeah.
And the leather inside was a soft, light tan nubuck, so it almost looked like a dessert.
So like you said, with so many cars and so many different options. I'm not sure if it was you or someone else mentioned earlier, the customer's pursuit of being unique when doing a car like this, and they're spending the money and they're taking the time to go through all the different materials. Do you see still completely unique cars coming through here, or does that become extremely challenging, as you've become such an established business 10 years, 15 years in?
Honestly, I don't think that there have been any two cars that were the same spec. There are some, standard colorways that come up now and again. The Gulf Blue with the orange leather interior. That's, I wouldn't say common, but it's popular. We also have some other colors that are popular. A darker blue that we call blue blood paint. And our cognac interior. That combination seems to come up now and again. But the cars themselves are always a little bit different. Whether one car has track seats in it, or one has sport seats, or a roll hoop, or painted interior, that kind of stuff. I don't think there are any two cars that are really the same.
Yeah, and that to me is outstanding. And you hear a lot of people on the internet, and everyone on the internet has a valid voice, of course, now, and everyone has a correct opinion. But you hear a lot of opinions about people who speak about this company and other companies who make cars. But to me, this is more of an act of engineering, and people like you exercising the knowledge and skills that you have, as opposed to look at this shiny car out in the sunlight. I mean, and walking through the shop today, it's clear that there's a mission here, and it's on the wall in big black letters.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really cool to see this all in person and all come together, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that there are many cars that we finished that the goal is to, you know, scream, "Look at me," you know. That's not really the design language you go with, but you know, of course it speaks for itself. Our cars get posted all over the place. You know, there's quite a cult following at this point.
Yeah. So if you were to order and design a Singer of your own, having been part of the process for a while now,
Singer VW bus, that would be neat.
That would be.
What would yours look like from the exterior to the wheels to the interior to the seat options?
That is tough. That's tough. You know, I'm an interiors guy. You know, that's what I want to stand out. I wouldn't necessarily go with a muted color, but maybe something that's a little bit more understated for a paint color, but probably a very bright interior. We did a car a couple of years ago that was a nice pearlescent white on the outside, but everything inside of the car was bright red, even the headliner and everything. And that was really cool. Almost like, you know, you open the door and it's almost like, you know, biting into a candy where the outer shell is one color and then there's, you know, this juicy filling on the inside, and that sort of thing really pops, and I like it. That's
incredible. And this is because I want to keep touching things, and maybe this will be a little difficult to reach. But this door card is incredible.
Sure.
Before, when we saw the stencil that you had to cut the door card out, I couldn't believe how much material was actually used to properly build the interior of the car.
Yeah, there's, for any given car, depending on the options that the client chooses, there's anywhere from 5 to 10 hides of leather that goes into the car. And that's because not every square inch of the hide is usable. Again, it's got bug bites or scars or, you know, stretch marks. Maybe the cow is a little bit fat. It's got some stretch marks on it that you can't use. And one other thing is that, you know, our clients understand that it's a natural material, and some of that stuff makes its way into the car, but that's what they expect. They want something that's raw and real.
It's crazy.
With the new turbo coming out, is the interior options going to be as endless as the classic?
It's looking that way. Yeah.
So you're going to be busy for a little while.
Yeah. And, you know, that's the stuff I really enjoy. The fine craftsmanship that goes into developing something new, you know, maybe using a material we've never used before, you know, a cowhide that has the hair and the spots from the cow on it still. That sort of stuff is really unique and bold, but it keeps it interesting, and I think that's the most fun part of my job, is getting to develop some of those special projects.
What's the weirdest special project you've been tasked on?
Well,
that you can speak to.
Maybe not weirdest, but most unique, or one that made you say, "Wow, this is a different day of work."
I mean, we have one going on right now that we saw earlier that really just reminds us what caliber of clientele we have.
Yeah.
We're creating a dog seat for the passenger seat of the car
That's
right now.
awesome.
So this dog is going to live in the lap of luxury in the passenger seat of the Singer.
Oh, that is fantastic. We were just at Rod Emery's the other day, and he had 20 years ago made a child seat for his car, and
for his son.
That immediately came to mind.
I texted a picture to my wife. I was like, I'm buying one.
An excuse for you to have one.
Can put my kids in the back of one of these, so it was cool.
Gosh, that's fun.
And do you guys ever find do you use exotic materials ever? Like, for example, you know, just some crazy specs. You know, for example, like Koenigsegg, they've started to use 24 karat gold. And do you ever get like requests to use exotic like diamonds or gold or whatever?
Sure. Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
We use exotic woods, you know, for the shift knobs and dash strips and stuff like that. Woods that are very difficult to get. We've also done 24 karat plated gold seat grommets and dash badges and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to build an interior from start to finish? Talk us through that process.
Start to finish, it depends on the type of car we're building, whether it's a coupe or a Targa, or what options the client has chosen. But somewhere around 300 hours goes into each interior.
Yes, we got to let him get back to, we've just wasted an hour at Tim's time.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours that goes into it. I mean, even though we've done this before, obviously we've built several cars at this point. We have the process down very, to a science almost. It still takes hundreds of hours to produce one of these interiors, starting with cutting the leather. That all happens by hand with templates that are laid out on the leather. The templates are all clear, so you can see through them and find the scars. And that stuff is all really specialized, highly skilled work that takes a lot of time.
So I got to ask, this all takes a lot of time, and there's significant demand for these cars, and there's a wait list that I don't know how long it is, but it's at least a couple or a few years. Is there pressure?
Of course there's pressure, yeah. A lot of our customers, they're thrilled about the cars. They've been waiting for years. They can't wait to get the finished product. We, of course, want to make sure that it's perfect and it lives up to our name. So there's always pressure to get things done in a timely manner, but also make sure that it's just as perfect as the last.
One of my friends, his name is Noah, just got a job here in the customer relations department. And when he told me that, it kind of hit me. Like, we work for a museum. We run high-end events. During those times, we all act as concierge for a lot of our guests and entrants and judges for our concours and whatnot. And when he told me he was in customer relations, it hit me like, oh yeah, you really have to go back and forth with these people. I'm sure they have endless questions, and is it done yet? And when can I see it? And to have a dedicated person to do that must really make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than just a person. We've got a team of client relations of folks who cater to everything, all the questions that our clients have, making sure that they're making decisions on time so that we can keep their car moving through the process. We even have we've got a photographer that just takes pictures of everything in progress every day to send to the clients, so that they get real-time updates and get to see the progress that their car is making.
Yeah.
How do you know when a car is done? I know it may sound like a silly question, but when there's such a high level of craftsmanship, how do you know when, okay, check, we're done?
So the very last step in our assembly process, after the car has been put through all of its test drives, the monsoon test where we blast it with water and make sure there's no leaks or anything like that. Once all that's been done, there's a final detail of the car, and then it goes through a final quality control buy-off. Once it's signed off, the orange cover goes on and it's done. It's ready to be shipped to a customer.
So that's the official. And
Yes.
do you do deliveries here? Do they go all over the world, or a mix of both?
Both. We've got clients all over the world. A lot of times the cars will get shipped to them. We also have global partners around the world where they sort of act, not so much like a dealer, but as a go-between, as a interface between us and our clients. But a lot of people prefer to come here, see the place where their car was built, and pick it up from the people who built it.
Well, I think with all types of cars, the cars are great, but what really makes them great is the people and the stories that you gain along the way. And how does it make you feel when a customer comes here and collects their car and compliments you on the work that you've done?
I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty good.
Yeah,
you should be proud of yourself.
It's awesome to see the clients come through and get to interact with the people who are spending their lives building these incredible creations. I can't think of a single customer who's come through who doesn't just light up, and it's like a kid in a candy shop. It's really cool to see.
Well, speaking of kids, do you have any kind of advice for kids who might want to work in a environment like this?
Get out there, wrench on something, find an old project, get your hands dirty, get some experience, because a lot of the people who are really successful here at Singer, it's not because they have certification in something, they've had formal training. It's because they understand what we do here, and they've, gone through some of it on their own projects. So if you think it's interesting and you want to learn more, get out there, find some dirty old hunk, and start wrenching.
And start welding the rust holes in the floor. But there's always an opportunity out there, and I always encourage kids to get out and just get into it, start networking, learn your craft, and I think you're a great example of putting that proof to the pudding.
When I was 16, the first car that I bought with my table bussing job was a 1973 Beetle. That was my daily driver in Michigan, and I had to learn really quick how to work on cars, because if I wanted to get to school or I wanted to get to my friend's house, that car had to be running, and just about every weekend I was spending, learning something new, getting myself, stuck in, trying to find a way out, and it was, good learning experience.
What would you say to your younger self where you are now?
Do it sooner. Dive in head first, because I think when I was younger, I was probably a little bit hesitant to really lean into my passions and explore those things. I think I was, pretty closed-minded, thinking about what the opportunities would be. I actually, started off when I went to college. I thought that I wanted to be an engineer, and switched paths later on, and I went to McPherson. And I think if I could tell myself anything, I'd say just dive in and do it.
What is it about VWs that you love?
They're funny looking. They've got such a character about them. They're finicky, and they make everybody smile when you drive past.
That's great.
Well, I think all of us want to build our own Singer now.
We'll be pinching pennies for the next 2 decades.
Yeah, we could do a driver's seat in ABS, a Singer, and base it on the logo with our greens and yellows and everything.
But I think it has to be said, like, coming to see this facility and admiring ours every time we walk by it, they're worth every single penny.
Every penny.
And people squawk about that day in and day out about cars of this caliber, not just these cars, and these speak for themselves. Look at the engine latch hatches, hinges.
Just every detail about the car, and I think that the proof with a lot of this stuff is in the pudding, and you have to experience it in order to fully understand why they're so good. I mean, after that first drive I took with the Singer that we have in the collection, I got out of it and I was like, whoa, it's probably one of the best cars I've ever driven.
Yeah.
I mean, just everything about it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, obviously we have the privilege of driving a lot of these unbelievable cars, but one of my favorite things is when we get the opportunity for someone else to drive the car. So, most car people know what a Singer is, and when someone who isn't one of us drives the car, they get out with the biggest smile on their face and they say, I get it. I need one. I get it.
Yep.
How do I get it? What do I have to do to, it's one of those cars where it's like you lust after and you finally meet your hero, and meeting your hero is everything and more. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Now give the steering wheel back.
No, this is coming home with me.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to show us around and sit down here with us, and I think it's been an incredible experience for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for spending the time to take a look at what the team here can build. They're really an incredible bunch.
Thank you. If you like content like this, remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell, hit the notification, watch our videos, listen to our podcast.
Buy a Singer.
Buy a Singer. Call up Tim.
And dive in.
Dive in. Thank you so much.